What if one tiny piece of candy could turn fear into fearless action? Join Sami on a magical journey.
The candy of courage. Every Saturday, Sami visited his grandfather Silas. Silas lived in a house filled with ticking clocks and dusty books. But today, Silas had something new. On the mantel sat a shimmering glass jar. Inside, a single piece of candy glowed with a flickering blue light. It looked like a tiny, frozen heart-shaped flame. "This is no ordinary sweet, Sami," Silas whispered, his eyes twinkling. "It is the candy of courage. It only appears when someone is ready for a journey." Sami reached out and touched the cool glass. "What does it do, Grandpa?" he asked. Silas smiled gently. "Courage isn't the absence of fear, Sami. It is doing what is right even when your knees are shaking. This candy will show you a place where courage has been forgotten. Are you brave enough to taste it?" Sami nodded, his heart thumping against his ribs. He carefully opened the jar and popped the blue candy into his mouth. The candy tasted like winter air and sweet honey. Suddenly, the walls of the living room began to dissolve into mist. The ticking of the clocks faded, replaced by an eerie, heavy stillness. Sami felt his feet lift off the ground as a swirl of blue sparkles enveloped him. He closed his eyes tight, feeling a strange warmth spreading from his chest to his fingertips. When Sami opened his eyes, he was standing in a city made entirely of glass and steel. It looked like a giant hive of cold, rectangular boxes stacked toward a gray sky. Everything was silent. There were no cars honking, no birds chirping, and no children laughing. The air felt heavy, as if everyone was holding their breath at the same time. This was the City of Silence. As Sami explored, he saw things that made his stomach twist. In a dark corner between two glass pillars, a tall, shadowy figure reached into a woman's bag and took her wallet. The woman saw him, but she didn't scream. She didn't even ask for it back. She simply bowed her head and kept walking, her eyes shiny with unshed tears. Fear had turned everyone into ghosts. People walked past Sami, but no one looked up. They kept their heads down, their shoulders hunched. Sami tried to say hello to a man in a long gray coat, but the man quickly pressed a finger to his lips. His eyes were wide with a deep, lingering fear. The man hurried away, his footsteps making no sound on the polished pavement. Near a small fruit stall, Sami saw a young girl named Lyra. She was searching her pockets for a coin to buy a bright red apple. Her hands were trembling. As she pulled out a small silver piece, it slipped through her fingers and rolled across the ground. It clinked softly, a sound that felt like a thunderclap in the oppressive quiet of the city. Suddenly, a large, angry man named Crag stepped out from behind the counter. Crag was the shopkeeper, and he looked like a mountain of grumpiness. He didn't offer to help Lyra. Instead, he pointed a thick, accusing finger at her. "You," he hissed, though his voice was barely a whisper. "You are trying to steal from me. You dropped that coin to distract me." Lyra shook her head vigorously, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. She tried to speak, but no words came out. The surrounding people stopped and watched, but they did nothing. They were too afraid of Crag's anger, and even more afraid of breaking the silence. Sami felt a surge of heat in his chest. The blue flame of the candy was pulsing. Sami's heart raced like a drum. He wanted to run away and hide like everyone else. His legs felt like jelly. But then he looked at Lyra's terrified face. He remembered what Silas said, "Courage is doing what is right even when your knees are shaking." Sami took a deep breath. He felt the blue light of the candy glowing brighter and brighter inside him. Sami stepped directly between the angry shopkeeper and the crying girl. He looked Crag right in the eye. "Stop it," Sami shouted. His voice was loud and clear, shattering the silence of the city. "She didn't steal anything. She was trying to pay you. Being loud doesn't make you right, and being afraid doesn't mean we should stay quiet." As the words left Sami's mouth, the blue light in his chest exploded outward. It wasn't a cold light. It was warm and brilliant. The light washed over Crag, whose angry face softened into confusion. It washed over Lyra, who stopped crying and stood up straight. The blue flames spread like a wave, touching the glass buildings and the gray sky. The transformation was magical. The gray glass of the city began to reflect vibrant blues, pinks, and golds. The heavy silence broke as people everywhere began to find their voices. A woman called out to the thief, demanding her wallet back. Neighbors started greeting each other. The city of silence was waking up, turning into a city of song. The world began to spin again. The colorful glass buildings blurred into streaks of light. Sami felt the familiar scent of old books and peppermint. With a soft pop, he found himself back on the rug in Silas's living room. The clocks were ticking rhythmically, and the blue jar on the mantel was now empty and clear. Sami looked at his grandfather. "I was so scared, Grandpa," he admitted. "But when I spoke up, the fear just melted." Silas nodded and patted Sami's hand. "That is the secret, Sami. Courage is a light we carry inside. When you use it to help others, it lights up the whole world." Sami smiled, knowing he didn't need magic candy to be brave ever again.